Hello and welcome back to Ghosthunter. Today we will be moving through the first part of this new level, which we will find out what it is in a minute when we read this paper. Or you may be able to guess from the architecture. Yep. It's a prison island. Called, I think Devil's Tear, something like that. This is where the game starts to feel kind of chopped together. As you may have noticed from the end of the boat level, things were fairly abrupt towards the end. Like, it just randomly gives you the dagger lying on the floor even though it makes no logical sense for it to be there, and then it just kind of throws you into the boss as he just kind of automatically teleports to the ballroom. And from here on, the game kind of starts to feel a bit like a lot of stuff was cut out. This island doesn't suffer too badly from it, but it has elements of that definitely feel like they could be tied together better, which we'll explore as we go on. But this part's kind of annoying because these guys are really far away. The guys that are in the sniping positions are up on that tower and on that balcony ahead of us. So we kind of deal with the Revenant first because he's right there on the ground floor with us. But these guys, the grenade can only reach so far for some reason here, even though it seems to have almost limited things. So if you're in the wrong position, you can have a problem having the grenade actually hitting them. So you can often just end up shooting at them and the grenades won't reach them, so they won't be able to actually be captured, and they'll just keep shooting at you even though they're only at like 1 health. I had the most problems with the guy on the balcony ahead with that issue. So this is going to take some time because this is just kind of a normally laid out fight because of that, because you have the snipers that are miles away from everything, and then there's Revenant who's just getting in the way on the ground floor, currently clipping through the crane. I do like the music here though. Again, I like that each level has a kind of unique take on similar-ish sounding music. Similar enough that it feels like it's from the same game, of course, but with its own distinct kind of sound to it. Like, because we're on a prison island here, it feels much more oppressive with the bass line and everything. Here I'm trying to get a bit clever and try and use a sniper rifle, so that I can time things better and actually, there we go, I'm actually hitting him! I found a use for the sniper rifle! Because these guys are far enough away for it to actually be necessary to use the thing. As you can tell, it's hard to hit him because he's wobbling all over the place. There we go. Yeah, those guys are annoying, but luckily they never get that far away again in the entire game, pretty much. That was like, that's as bad as this gets. I mean, this is what they were trying to do with the hillbilly astral projections, but it wasn't quite enough. Yeah, while the areas of the previous level, like the swamp, was a way long level that had a lot of shit going on, but it also, its plot was the best tied together because everything led into itself perfectly, that kind of thing. It was paced very well, although it did feel like it was getting a bit long in the tooth. These levels don't have that problem, they're over fairly quickly, but as a result the plot can feel a bit spackled together. But I do like this area when we're heading into the fishery with the shark. It's a kind of a cool visual that it's like the first thing you see. But now we've taken care of that fight, let's continue exploring the prison and see what the overarching plot here is. With our micro plots. The only thing I'll say so far is this particular prison has 2 microplots that do not intersect at all. This is where the cutting out thing feels here. Like, each of the plots is well put together, but they could have tied it together a little better between the 2 plots. They kind of compromised there. Feels like 2 halves of an entirely separate stories, which they pretty much are, but they're interesting enough.
So, I can now confirm there simply was no escape. Yes, that's right. Get that in your headline. No escape. Prisoner tried his luck, but as I've said 100 times, it can't be done. The only way those boys will get off this island is in a box. Holbrook went into the furnace, and that's as far as he got. Burnt to a crisp. No doubt about it. Can you prove that, Warden? Hell no. There's enough ashes in there, you'd be sifting forever and never find a thing, but that's where he is. Good riddance, I say, because that was his choice. Is it true you clamped down on all the prisoners, Warden? Made your regime even harsher? Are you still in control in there? You better believe it. Well, none of those boys were sentenced to a picnic now, were they? They've done what they've done, and your readers can rely on me to make them pay. That's what my institution is all about. Now, if you'll please... What would you say to our readers who frankly may not be convinced by your explanation, Warden? Many will surely assume that you failed, that Houdini Holbrook has got the better of you, and that he's out there at large.
That will be the last ever question to me, Sonny.
What I say to your readers is this. It can't be done. I mean, even if he did get to the water, which he didn't, he'd either be drowned or shark meat. No one has ever escaped and lived to tell the tale. The day someone does will be the day I die.
The first half of the prison deals with Houdini Holbrook, who has very little to do with anything else in this game. What he actually... We'll see his importance later in this video, but this prison is very bisected when it comes to the overarching story, which is a shame because despite all the stuff cut out, at least the boat felt somewhat coherent. And it will only get worse as the game goes on, but here we go. This is the important part surrounding Houdini Holbrook, the escaped prisoner. This details how he escaped. He broke into the furnace room, made his way through a sewer system, and eventually emerged by an old church. We may be wondering how we're going to get into this prison. That's how. We're going to follow Houdini Holbrook's escape in reverse. So the first thing we're going to do is try and find an old church. But yeah, it actually took me a while to realise the importance of Houdini Holbrook. I thought he was completely irrelevant to the entire plot because he never comes up again after the first half of this level. But it is actually just that simple. It's basically just a route for you to get into the prison so you can continue the level. It's basically kind of like a little, here's where you need to go, look for this landmark. Which I like. It's an interesting use of that half of the story. As a kind of reverse prison escape, but it's just a little bit, again, too far removed from the other story to feel really as coherent as the other levels have so far. So here we'll find the majority of the things we'll be facing. We've dealt with all the snipers in the level pretty much. Now we're dealing with just normal prison guards coming up. Up this way is pretty close to a red herring, but we do need to kill this one guy. Even though, because that's all that's up here is the closed gates of the prison and this one guy. But he just gave us our final ability for Astral, Possession. Possession is a pretty neat ability. It's used in interesting ways, although not too often. But here we have a large fight against a lot of these prison guards now. The main danger is actually not the guns. It's if they get close enough to you, they'll start clubbing you. And that does a lot of damage, and they move very quickly. So if they get too close to you, they can kind of start stun-locking you and doing a lot of damage very quickly. I don't let them do it here, but later in the game you'll see them doing that. It's a nightmare, because they move just a little faster than you can back away. So you kind of have to break off and flee if that starts. But here we're just not going to let them get into that. We're just going to kill them really quickly to avoid them having a chance to do anything mean. Yeah, this is a pretty neat fight though. I quite like this, the way they funnel out the church and then start flanking you. It doesn't go on too long as well, which would really kill this fight, really. So here we have what looks like an abandoned church. Landmark number 1 on the Holbrook escape route. Just heading around to top off, make sure all the health's up and everything like that. Yep, cool, topped off. Also just to show off that little building, and there's these little areas around here that really serve no purpose, but it's interesting that they're there. They're really just here to hide health in. That door does nothing, it's just a texture. That's just a way around to that little pier where you can see where Houdini Holbrook would have theoretically escaped from. So let's head in here, and this is actually the game's final weapon. The Spectral Lasso. You may have noticed there was one more slot there, but it's that's something we'll see much later on, and I don't really count it for reasons you'll see. But this weapon is situationally useful. It's incredibly powerful in the right circumstances. But if the enemy's too far away, it can be a problem. You'll see why, because of the way it works in the sewers here, in which it makes very short work of some enemies, but then other enemies have trouble with it. Or it has trouble with, rather. Like here, Because the thing is, it's the Ghostbusters weapon, basically. It needs to latch on, but look how quickly it killed that guy. And look how much ammo it both has and took back, because it just immediately absorbs all ghost energy it touches. It's basically just, it's a gun that refills itself, practically, but while it seems like a golden ticket to just beating the game really quickly and easily, it has its problems. For example, over this distance you'll see, it takes a very long time to reach the guy. So if you're in a big fight with a lot of people, this gun is not much use at all. It's mostly useful for tough enemies that you're only fighting mano a mano. Let's finish this guy off now, with just the grenade escape, there we go. And this area is pretty... One thing I quite like with this game is it does the standard sewer level, but they're actually fairly short and tiny. There's these little areas in the greater levels, and I quite like the way it does that, because it adds just enough sewer to have some environmental distinction and, like, differentiation to other environments, but it doesn't last nearly long enough to outstay its welcome. So, we could start heading down that way, but there is basically nothing there. No, wrong way, actually. I was thinking of the next turn. Yeah, this part's a bit of a pain because it's just trudging through a lot of water, but again, it's a very, very, very short period of time, so it's really not too bad. This game does sewer levels much better by just not having actual levels. It's just a little room here or there full of water, and that's much more doable. This was me being about to check what was down here, but I think it might just form a large loop, so I was just like, screw it, let's just go straight this way, where we can finally leave the water. So here we are, following the middle part of Houdini's escape to the sewer. At least it warned us it was coming. I do like the physics on the chains, even if it's going to be a little weirdly late. And here we go. Because it's a very traditional Ghost thing as well to have rattling chains, so it's neat that while none of the ghosts actually have chains specifically to rattle, they do have the sound effect in there in some ways. It's a neat little nod to, like, classic horror stuff. I say classic, more cliched, but there we go. But yeah, let's head down this elevator beyond the sewers to the water treatment area of the prison and see what we can do in here. This is largely a few enemies, but mostly puzzle. There we go, that wasn't too bad, sorry about that. I normally cut those out. At least it was only a few seconds. So here we go, let's take this guy out. He's far enough away that we can just kind of wait for the plasma thing. No, let's just shoot him. Again, it's just way more efficient from this distance to use the machine gun thingy, the plasma rifle thing. Because that tendril that the ghost vacuum puts out is just, the lasso rather, is just not fast enough, really. It'd just be wasting time doing that. So let's just bump through all these barrels. Yeah, this game kind of does this quite a bit. We need to go all the way around here so we can go up a ladder. This is just kind of padding over here. This is the worst part of where the sewer levels go, because this is like the last sewer level in the game, and it's kind of, it gets a little overly complicated at times. But here we go. These guys are the big problem. The guys with the massive clubs, because as you may guess from the massive clubs, they have massive reach. And you can see their destination, an astral puzzle. I quite like the kind of mechanical clanking you get in the music in the sewer combat sections. It's at least an interesting sound to it. So let's head around here, making sure there's no enemies in the water. It's kind of the annoying thing with this particular section of the game. It kind of likes to spawn enemies in like that. So it's, really? You're doing that with me? Fuck you, I'm going to try and take pot shots, but then he's going to hide under the catwalk like a little arse. This guy's mean because it's basically you just have to take the damage. Oh, here we go. But then again, that just bumped him under the catwalk, so I can't hit him now. This guy's terrible, I don't like him, and now he's shooting me directly through the bloody catwalk because he's an idiot. And now this guy's here, so let's just take care of this idiot. Luckily they can't climb. Fuck you, grenade straight to the balls. This guy was annoying me. There we go. It's dealt with now. So now we can go upstairs and deal with his friend up there. Then we get our grenade back. There we are. Sod off. Stupid man. Let's put our gun away so that we can move a little faster to get to this ladder and finally get to the astral puzzle. So this room is pretty big. And here is our little tutorial for possession. And yes, we do need to be behind the enemy to do so. Luckily though, enemies in this game can't see astrals, so it's easy to sneak up on them. Here's what we need to do with astral though. This is a fairly long puzzle using her. That if you don't know what you're doing can really run you low on ghost energy and make you have to find some more to refill. It's kind of a pain in the ass in that way. So let's take her through, and instead solve it as efficiently as we can. You may expect a lot of possession going on, but we haven't even seen the puzzle yet, so let's go into this big room. And that's a lot of tracks going on. Oh dear. This is a lot of shit that we couldn't see as Lazarus. But what we need to do is everything we can interact with, like this switch, we need to turn into a poltergeist and interact with it. There's not really much of a puzzle, it's just do everything you can, touch everything you can touch, and it will work out. You don't really need to worry about like pathing or anything like that, or any tricks, like accidentally undoing parts. It's just do all the things that the game lets you do, and you're done. So let's just pull the switches, and also do the other thing we can do in this room with this stuff. It's a weird that it still says smash for just moving something, but there we go. That's that one done now. We're just kind of switching back into normal astral so we're not wasting any astral energy. Because it's kind of precious here because this is a long puzzle. Longer than most anyway. It's got most stages anyway. If you don't know what you're doing, this puzzle can take forever. But here we go, wrong way. So let's smash this. You may have noticed what kind of route we're forming here. It's weird that there's minecart tracks here under a prison, but whatever. Verisimilitude is kind of falling apart here. This feels kind of like a puzzle that should have been in the swamp, honestly. It was probably intended for the swamp, but they just didn't have anywhere to put it, so they just shoved it here, I'm guessing. Because the game starts feeling more and more rushed as the levels start going on. From this point on, it especially gets kind of jarring at times. Now we're on the final layer, so let's move these. Boink. That was not an appropriate sound effect there, but whatever. Boink, really? What was I thinking? So here we go. Now we have one last thing to do here. All the way up over here. There is a man here with a drill. He's not doing anything with it. But we want him to be, so let's get to our final power, possession. And considering that is 9/10 of the law, that seems appropriate for a legal level. So let's start drilling, if he'll actually do the drill. I was pressing the button so much and he just wouldn't do it, but now he's finally doing it. Yay, he's drilling. Even though it's clearly not moving, but here's what the drilling does. It spawns a minecart and fills it. And then a little bit later it sets it off on its way down the track we've just sabotaged. And around those layers, otherwise it just gets trapped in those little holes. And there we have it. That's the puzzle solved. We'd be able to guess what we can do with that, since that ledge didn't have a ladder. Let's leave him and get back into Lazarus. try and take care of these rats with a little extra ghost energy, but I don't waste even more than I ended up getting anyway. That was me being dumb. Don't let my gameplay fool you, I'm not good at this game. So, here we go. I do quite like the baseline here. Now there's a new guy spawning here. Let's take care of him. Got a good amount of ammo from that. That's nice. Well, this was the first area of the game where I had real trouble and actually had to start putting cheats on in one of my previous playthroughs, because I ended the boss fight before this level with 8 health. The pickup at the beginning of the level got me up to 30, but then the sniper battle took me down to 2 health. So I kind of I did move on and managed to find some extra health in that little room with all the fish and everything like that. So I didn't really need to put it on yet, but it was a very close call when I was when I was practice running rather. So I pick up a bunch of these crates of, I think, grenades. No, I think it was a shotgun, I can't remember, but let's head up here now. It takes a bit to register it. And here's a really good piece of music, I really like this. The weird synthesized version of the chord progression. Yeah, it's the same basic chord progression, just presented differently. And that's really cool. But here we are, in the basement of the prison itself. So, we will investigate those steam pipes later. Play us out.